Well, hey, welcome to the show before the show, where I check to make sure everything's hunky-dory. If this feels like deja vu, well, maybe it
What
is.
what is the three-time equivalent of try to electric boogaloo?
I don't know, man. Did you mute the game on your end, or is it still playing audio?
Uh, it's it's the volume is reduced, I believe, but it has audio.
Okay. So, folks, we've tried. We've tried today. That's all I can do, you know? I'm going to make sure that the audio is not overwhelming for this game. Oh my god. I'm just trying to hit the audio sign here. Can I get the audio? Stream volume.
I'll do this to kind of give you a
Oh, thanks. Yeah, let us know if any of that's annoying or loud. How about that? That seems good. That seems good. Yeah, that seems loud enough. Why not? But guys, show before the show. Everything's working. Okay, well, we're good. We're good on that.
okay.
I'll mute it. I'll mute it if we keep up with that shit.
I was just doing that to give us something to work off of because I turned music off for copyright issues potentially, and then also just generally because the music can
Oh,
get
it's
loud.
fine. You're modifying it. You're creating new art, like our topic today. So, guys, today we're going to be discussing AI art and not necessarily tool sets that like the nitty gritty of any of it. There's a lot to AI art and tools, and I've actually linked in the description, or I did with the previous three videos, to a great YouTube video, which I'll add in the description after this. But he did a great job of covering the topic and why you should care as a consumer. But we're going to just discuss it lightly as it pertains to board and card games. But moreover, we're going to be discussing, where is it? Karlov Manor, which is also in the title of this video. So if you want to discuss some of the latest singles with us today, of course, watch some gameplay and chat, thanks for tuning into the live. The One Piece is real. Not today. The One Piece was a lie. Two times over, but third time's a charm. We'll see. At any rate, we will get gameplay from my end eventually. I don't know what caused it to shit the bed, but I'll solve this separately. Play AI music. Hey Patrick. Hi chat. Hi Diego. Thanks guys for hanging tight as we solve through those technical difficulties. This is going to be a slightly abridged stream today. I want us to go for about an hour 30 minutes. Will ensures me that he can beat Risk of Rain 2 in like 20 minutes. So maybe we'll
If
see a
need
couple
be.
runs if need be. Well, I mean,
If you want,
you don't need
I
to
can
speed
I
run it
can loop.
necessarily.
I'll loop and just get a really greedy dumb run going.
Okay.
I set up the artifacts to do so because this is the artifact combination where more enemies spawn, and when you kill enemies, there's a chance they drop items, and you get to choose what items they drop.
Yeah, feel free to okay, so let's just decide on the format here during the show before the show. So basically, I want to play games that aren't too demanding on the player. Risk of Rain maybe, but Will's built up a familiarity with it that he should be able to talk and play at the same time. So we'll soon find out. But did you want to just cover what Risk of Rain is for the people at home?
Sure. So Risk of Rain is a roguelike game where you drop onto an alien world filled with hostile monsters, and your goal is to clear out the planet to try to find where this emergency beacon is coming from. You just kill enemies, open chests, get items, make yourself stronger, and then do fun and dumb stuff. There's more stuff to it than that, but that's a good rough guideline of it.
Okay, I like it. Feel free to start us off, Will.
Alrighty.
Yeah, so we can officially start now. Hi, guys. I'm Pat, your host, your local game guy, and this is Game and Chat. So today, again, we have AI art and board and card games we want to talk about later in the show. But we also want to talk about the Murders at Karlov Manor, which is the latest releasing set for Wizards of the Coast. I believe it releases February 9th or February 6th. Early February, though, so we're getting spoilers now. We're going to get all the spoilers well before the set releases, and we're going to have a chance to talk about all of them here on the channel. So let us know if there's any new singles that have released that you're excited about. Obviously, we'll discuss them here. but with gameplay. So I've played a lot of this game. I do not consider myself great at it. I don't think I've ever played with... I don't know if I've played with like a combination of artifacts to make it easier. I don't know if what you're doing is making it easier technically, but you're making it such that you can kind of combo plays. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm trying to do a fun yet dumb build. That's more or less what I'm trying to do. It's not about making it easier, because it's not too difficult to begin with, but it's more about making a very fun, dumb thing happen as easily as possible.
Okay. Here, I'm gonna lower the volume for you guys just a little bit more. There we are. So, Will, why don't we start with the AI topic, because we sort of went that way as you were hosting it during our second take, but we got into this conversation the other day concerning AI art in board and card games after we discussed a recent release of Wayfarer's Bauble in the Lost Caverns of Ixalan Commander set. Was it a Commander set that released with
I believe it was in the Commander set, yes.
Right, with that amazing art. So basically, this artist, who will not be named, borrowed. And by borrow, I mean took a landscape art from a separate artist, flipped it, and then used some sort of generative AI fill to have it as the backdrop for their Wayfarer's Bauble art, which had, you know, a themed character in the foreground looking at a bauble, but with no real sense of space or depth, for that matter. So it's just gravitating in the air, it seems, in this piece of art. So people called it out, and rightly so. So, you know, the main topic here is really whether or not we would like to see, or we find it acceptable, that there could be AI art and or AI tools utilized to create the art for our board and card games, and to what degree is that acceptable. So with Wayfarer's Bauble, it's unacceptable. This person was not given consent. It's pretty much their sealing their copywritten work. So Wayfarer's Bauble, no. I think it's going to be a novelty collector piece for some people. Obviously, the art's never going to get reprinted from here, I don't imagine. But what safeguards are in place to even, you know, make sure that that shit doesn't happen in the future? And I don't know how many tools are actually out there that can help you identify this, or how accurate they even are. So because this is such a rising issue, I'm not sure that the safeguards that are in place or will ultimately be in place for it are going to be 100% accurate. So it's good that the artist spotted it. I think you sent me a post from Twitter, or X, I should say, where they acknowledged this. Is that accurate?
Yeah, there was something that, I don't know if it was the original, I think it was the original artist who brought up the fact that, hey, yeah, this is my art. Don't know why the crap it's on this Magic card.
I don't think I've ever done what you're doing right now. What is going on?
I'm going behind this wall to get through a closed door.
Oh.
So there's a door that's closed that lets you through there, but it sometimes closes so you can't get to this newt altar, so I just flew around.
Okay. I had no idea. Where does the zone end for you dropping right now? Like you're
Out
not...
there.
Okay. I was gonna say, are you trying to
travel?
Gotcha. Yeah, so when we discussed this though off camera, this Wayfarer's Bauble, Will was like, hey, you know what? I'm chill with AI tools or AI art being used, provided it's draft chaff. And you've sort of expounded on these thoughts earlier, but
yeah,
feel free to elaborate now.
Provided that one, it's obviously like consensual art exchange, because you have, as you brought up, you have art that is using a sample of images and then it doesn't credit the artist. I'm like, that's not cool. And then you also have any AI art tool where it's like, oh yeah, it's pulling from a reference of images that the artist did not agree to. I don't like that. But if you have a pool of images where everything is good, everything's consensual, everybody agreed to it, I am fine with that being used. And my opinion on it was pretty much, well, as long as it's like draft chaff and there's alternate art that is actually well made, I'm happy with it. Because my issue with
Hmm.
AI art is more so like really crappy art in situations where you don't want crappy art, or when when it's using art that people didn't agree to. So excluding that negative, I'd be happy if they did AI art in just general things, because all the people care about for art in Magic the Gathering, or not all people, but a lot of people in Magic the Gathering only
Will
care about
speaks for
art for.
everyone.
Yeah, I speak for all of you plebeians. Um,
I know what art you appreciate.
yeah, but I know a lot of people that at least I play Magic with don't care about the art too much. They more so just use the art as a reference point to be able to refer to specific cards, or be able to go like, oh, that art, that card, I know what that does.
Gotcha.
So for draft chaff, or just for a basic art setup, I don't know why I'm looking around for chests. I disabled chests in this run. Um, so for just for a basic art setup, or for the standard set, I'd be fine if Wizards of the Coast, or a company that was making games similar to oh my gosh, a lot of enemies. Give me a second. Um,
Oh, you're
but
good,
any
man.
company making a similar game to Magic the Gathering, if they just wanted to use AI art for the basic set and then have like actual good alternate art as a additional thing, I'd be down with that. Kind of like not exactly the secret layer setup, but the collector boosters setup that we have.
That's
If they
interesting.
wanted to just have cool collectors boosters art, and like mediocre art for the initial packs, I'm fine with that, because I'd still be able to get cool art of the cards that I care about, while also having just easier access to cards for the initial set. Because if they do, sorry, I'm focusing on this because I'm getting swarmed by a
No,
lot of
you're good.
things.
You're good.
But if they do have AI generated art for the basic cards, they don't have to spend as much for the printing of the initial cards. They just have to spend more for the printing of the cards with the alternate arts that the artist actually made.
Right, right. So what would make this kosher though? So this is all hypothetical clearly, but the issue largely when it comes to AI generated art specifically, not tools that help you create art, like the artist create art, but taking a subset of images, studying it, and then generating essentially copies or clones or lookalikes or doppelgangers of an original artist work or several artists to create one singular piece of work. And in the show before the show, in a distant video that happened earlier, I used as a reference like a paladin elf, and you copy the works of three separate artists. So, in this hypothetical situation where any game company, but in this situation, let's just say Wizards of the Coast, were to get the consent of those artists, you're saying that you're okay having AI art generated for non essential cards, which I think we can read into that as saying, like draft chaff, commons, uncommons from the set. But then what are the essential cards? Are these the rares, mythic rares? Are
So
these.
that's why I kind of broadened it out to saying the initial set, because I'm like, it's impossible to say what people are going to play as you're
Oh,
designing the cards, because
so,
they
well, then you mean the whole set.
so for
If the artists were accredited for like their work being sampled for the AI art, imagine having a card that said like five separate artist names at the bottom of it, just to acknowledge the fact that it's been, you know, the AI art was generated off of their body of work. So you're saying the initial set could have all of that handled by AI, and then they would do drops or secret layer sets, in essence, or I guess collector boosters with the core cards. So like the cards that are clearly being utilized from the main set and are, upwards of 20, 30, $40 a single.
yeah, because if you just
Okay.
have AI art for the initial set, it's still all going to be playable and still going to be functional, and it's not like you're trying to cheat artists out of anything. If it's just we're getting art there for the mechanic purpose of easy recognition for cards.
Hmm.
So I'm fine if they want to try to do that. Uh, so that's why I kind of had to lean to the, well, I'll just have to end up saying, yeah, the initial set with alternate art for whatever. And I'd be more I'd be a little bit more against doing that setup, but that's also the most reasonable and reliable way that you can get that set up.
Okay.
Because otherwise, it's like, oh yeah, subjectively, what are people going to play? Well, according to WotC, when they were making Skull Clamp, they made it a bad card. So
Fact.
Skull Clamp is a bad Magic the Gathering card, apparently.
Ooh.
But
Only core sets get AI art. Do we still do like do we still do core sets? Do you know what I mean? Is that even a thing anymore? Every set is themed. There's no
yeah,
like reprint sets.
You mean like just the general core sets that's like it doesn't have any kind of name. It's just like the number on the side of it.
So
like M in the number.
So I feel like
set number.
I know Will speaks for everyone, but
yes, 100%.
But I don't think it's entirely accurate for all of us. But Nibiru says draft cards having like 0 real artists doing illustrations that are that would be upsetting. So let me read that again. Having 0 real artists doing illustrations that are not AI would be so upsetting. I can understand where Will's coming from. That truthfully, so far as the actual experience of Magic the Gathering is concerned, mechanically, so long as it's the same, it will be still as enjoyable, right? Remember that secret lair where it was just a bunch of flavor text on the card?
Yeah.
It was like a land base?
Yeah.
You would be fine if the Magic the Gathering card was just text.
Honestly, yeah,
For
those are my favorite lands. Like, I want to buy those, but those are expensive.
Well, I think for a lot of us, part of the world building aspect of the game is having those illustrated works represent the characters, whether they be legendary characters we're all familiar with, like, you know, the series of planeswalkers that are out there, and or just like a goblin or a merfolk or whatever the flavor of the month is. I do think that lends to the enjoyability of the game. So far as having those pieces of art be created by an actual individual, though, I think that's what's most important. So long as it's a lot of this is like a legal issue more than anything else. I think we can all agree that we want artists that are having their works copied to be paid, and or at least, you know, have their consent to have their body of work pretty much stolen from companies like Midjourney or there are so many AI art groups popping up, and the thing is, it's not being properly governed or handled. Like, people are able to just drop your art in there, and even like Getty Images wasn't that a big scandal? Getty Images had like art taken or photos taken to create art on I forget which service it was, but like it's happened multiple times where you'll see like watermarks from artist peer. And it's like they were never given consent or not properly paid or anything. And so that aside, I know I personally would care to have actual artists work on the cards. So far as it being crucial to the game, though, that's a different story. I think using AI tools to help create like a setting is fine. I know Wizards of the Coast sort of took a hit recently when they said they wouldn't use AI in any of their marketing or cards. I forget like to the extent which they made that claim. But then when marketing for this recent Ravnica remastered, there was like an AI generated ad essentially. And that was sort of a big issue for a lot of people. Something like that, where it's just advertising the set, I don't think it really bothers me that much. It's the fact that Wizards said they wouldn't that I think is problematic. But that didn't really... Do you know what I'm talking about, Will?
Yeah, I think I heard about that.
It was like a sort of steampunk-esque scene, and there were just not Shocklands in the image, but the Guild Gates that were being reprinted in the set. And it was, I don't know, it looked interesting. I think the person they hired to do it did a bad job of making sure it didn't look like AI, because you can redo those prompts and like fix everything. But yeah, this machine gun sound has become like
if you want, you can turn it down.
No, it's become white noise for me though.
Yeah, I mean it is the tick from the Hellfire tincture.
Getty confetti.
Yeah, Hellfire tincture.
Yeah, Getty confetti, exactly. Where you're gonna see like Getty Images watermark just like blurred on the side of the picture. Let me go through some of your thoughts on this, though, guys. I know I'm sort of just regurgitating. I admittedly know little of AI tools. I've just known what some people use in Photoshop and some people are using for video editing. But there's a rise in prevalence for these tool sets, and I think as a tool, it's cool to help the artist. I don't personally use any AI in any of my workflow, and it's not really. It's what am I trying to say? It's very flattering to call it artificial intelligence for a lot of these tools because none of it's really intelligent. It's really just copying and learning from what it's being provided. Especially
Patrick, isn't that what intelligence is?
But it doesn't acknowledge. It's like it's not. It's just a series of ones and zeros. It doesn't know what the fuck it's doing. It's just like you're dumping 200 photos from your favorite artist and you're saying, learn what makes this good, and then spew out something similar. It like make it a druid, like whatever, 200 images of a druid in a forest, and you're like, do something similar. And I think for personal use that's really cool. I don't necessarily want to see that though in my card game. If there was a new card game though that was like 100% AI generated art, I guess I'd be cool with it, provided they
did everything ethically.
Right, but they're not going to. I don't think they will, and none of these AI generated art groups are doing things ethically, and they're definitely try to skirt around it as much as possible. But if a game was completely like, if the mechanics of the game were really fun, and I learned later that all the art was AI generated, and it was unethically sourced, then I would be upset. If it was, the artists were accredited somewhere, anywhere, that'd be great. If they'd given their consent, if they're paid, even better. But like the use of AI art, I feel like it's kind of inescapable at this point, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't put laws in place to make sure that the artists don't get completely shafted.
Agreed. Because for some of my 3D modeling stuff, I've used AI art, but I've used it as like a baseline template to kind of get an idea started, and then I've expanded on it to try to make it something that I actually wanted to use.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm volcano. Okay, I have no idea where the crap I'm going to start on a volcano, so I'll just do AI art prompts and then let it do its thing. And I'll be like, I don't like that. I don't like that. That's nice. I'll try to expand on that. Okay. Yeah, it's nice. Okay, I think I know what I want to do. And then I'll use that as a reference image, and I'll try to make something that looks more realistic off of that.
So, like I said, I want to go over some of these comments. Mateus said, to the AI discussion, I heard Neil deGrasse Tyson referring to AI cars. At the beginning, people would ride their horses on the road until cars took off, then horses would be ridden at special places, with a lot of people losing their jobs. The same will happen with AI cars. Eventually, I'm just going to stop there. I would love it if motor vehicles were completely automated. I would love it if not another soul in the world would get to drive a car or ride a motorcycle. It would expedite transportation immensely.
The world would be a better place.
It would be better. There would be, if it was like perfectly automated, there would be no accidents.
It wasn't going to crash, nothing like that. It wasn't going to do anything crazy or stupid. It was just that it would get from point A to point B, and no one would get hurt. Everything would be safe.
Your uncle can get as drunk as he wants Christmas Eve. It's totally okay. He's not going to wrap around a tree. He's not going to hit the dog. Nothing. None of that would have happened. Christmas wouldn't have been spoiled for you.
If Siri could Uber me places.
And I would not mind that. So let me continue. I mean, honestly, like that's a cool future, but I'll still, pump my motorcycle with gas and like hit the road and be a shithead, cut through traffic. I mean, it's not an issue for me. It's an issue for all you people. But let's see.
Suck nerds.
Sucks to suck, nerd. Eventually, you will be able to drive a human-driven car on the road. If you want to drive, you go to a special track for that. A lot of people find it odd today, but it will be the normal in the future. Will that be the same for art? That's interesting. I literally agreed with Neil deGrasse Tyson before finishing what Neil deGrasse had to say. I think it's great. I would love to see more advancements in AI cars. They don't need to be artificially intelligent personally. it could just literally be. Sorry, I'm turning down the volume for the game a little bit. It just if it was like on a ferry, like if it was on a rail system and everything was self-guided, and it literally every road was converted to this system. Obviously, the infrastructure for this, like this would not exactly or like a train, but like personal trains. I would honestly love that. Like, it doesn't need to be some smart car, but I think that's probably the way we're leaning. I don't know. I don't work in the car industry, people. I'm not behind any AI project. I'm not really sure how you would train a vehicle to not, like, there's so many stories of like AI cars getting pulled over and then just driving away from the authorities, or like driving in a street post, or just driving off road. Like, I don't know what it takes to work out those blemishes, but I feel like we're probably a ways off.
I think this is yeah, that was the thing I was trying to find.
Is it? Are you shooting a gun to levitate? Is that how this works?
No. So you can hover as the artificer,
Oh.
and I have I have my R, which just jets me into the air super high, and that lets me fly by itself. But I
Oh.
also picked up Strides of Heresy, which lets me turn into this like ethereal orb that will move in the direction that I'm facing.
Gotcha.
So I can use either of those to fly.
So let me see here. I saw that same conversation, Mateus, says Diego. I think it differs in the fact that horse car is something that you need to function somewhat in society. Art is expressive and not so tool-like. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I think we as people only really need so much. We need shelter, we need food, we need air. Transportation, I think, is a luxury, really. I mean, there's plenty of countries where people don't own cars, and that's okay. Do you know what I mean? I mean, for the longest time in here, because we have, I guess, the luxury of the metro system, and that's a stretch. The metro system here is not great, in my opinion, yet the price only goes up. I rode a bike, like a bicycle, for years, and I bought a cheap bike. I used that for years, made a little bit more money, bought a better bike, bought some folding bikes, have a motorcycle now. I can't say that it's a must-have. You know, I think it's great that we can go out, me and Allie, and get groceries in a car, but a lot of people don't have that luxury. I think that, though, if we were to make advancements in the automotive industry, I'd be so happy to see less accidents with automated cars. It would be so nice. But to that same point, would it not be less important if it's not essential? So, right. So, in concerns to AI art, I wouldn't say that art's a luxury, right? For the artist, it's just a means of expression. I say just. For a lot of artists, it's a means of expression. I think for a lot of people that look at AI art as... I think for a lot of people that look at AI art, they see it as a potential cash cow. Like, if you look on YouTube or if you search the web, people are going to be like, 5 great ways to use AI art to make 50 grand in a month, you know, or whatever. Yeah, that's maybe not the first title I would consider when writing this article or making this video, but you've likely seen it too, Will. It's like, it's just popped up where you'll look up AI art, and for every one video that talks about how it will be the downfall of artists in general, or it's the worst thing for society, there's like 10 other videos where people are telling you how you can make money off of it. So art itself, I guess, is a luxury. Is that crazy? Because, like, I don't know. I used to work in the food and hospitality industry, and I would go to rich people's places all the time. And there's a lot of wealth in New York City, let me tell you. And there would be art installations or art pieces in some of these houses where I know they paid $50,000 to have this, like, giant fruit fly suspended on the wall. Or it just the dumbest things I've ever seen, and people paid to have... That was a weird one. I'm sorry. That was not a good one. But I've seen like really crazy large pop art prints that were like as much as my car. And that's a real luxury, but it ultimately devolves to like being decor for a lot of people, or these assets obviously mean more to rich people. Like, they pour their money into art for other reasons. It not just to illustrate wealth, but those assets, like there's more to it than it just being a luxury. But Art, what are your opinions on AI art? What are your opinions on art in general, Will? And I mean like the on-canvas visual art. Is that a luxury like I'm suggesting transportation is?
So I would say that like art in general is usually considered a luxury, but I'm very bare bones essentialist when I talk about what isn't a luxury. So I'm like, well, what is pretty much the only things that aren't luxuries are things that you actually need to survive, and that is
Yeah.
kind of what I whittle it down to.
Which is narrow.
Yeah, it's like very very narrow and simplistic. So if I would to broaden my stance, I'd probably still say that art is still under a luxury, but
Yeah. It's not, it's like, it's a non essential. I guess you could say anything that's non essential, which is what you need to survive, right? Baseline. Then art is a luxury. But I think that entertainment is necessary and people need to be entertained, need to have things like TV and film and their favorite manga or comic book, or I'm trying to think of things that have illustrations in them. Like art is a medium that makes people happy. So I think there is a general need for it in society. Yes, you could live without it, but I think it's still of value. So I don't think that an artist's role in society is any less valuable than, say, people are mentioning train conductors, any other role in society. I think like an actor is just as important as an artist, is just as important as a CEO of a major corporation. I really do think that. I just think that they're paid astronomically less than other people, and I mean artists in general. But let me see here. Fast food only. So there's AI restaurants. I know that CES showcased like an AI barista. I know that there are AI like automated food servers in Japan. Like it's not unheard of. Like this is an ongoing thing. It would seem so, but one pulls the emotional strings of people, the other is less so. So Diego says, so Nibru
a very
says,
weird thing to say.
yeah, I think I'm just the cadence of your gunplay is changing my speech pattern. Draft cards having like zero real artists would be upsetting, yes. MTG balances flavor and function, and a lot of most loved aspects of it comes from great use of both. That's interesting. I
Agreed.
would
And
agree. Yeah.
I think that honestly, you could get away with doing partial AI art because if you're doing a main like a character, like a very core character to the story, you can hire an artist to do specifically that art for the essential card, like Gideon. If you wanted to do art with Gideon in it, yeah, you could hire somebody to do that. But for like the generic thing, like for instance, Scuttlegator, which I'm gonna bring up as a joke later in this stream, but Scuttlegator, no one knows about Scuttlegator's art. No one cares about Scuttlegator's art except for me for a very specific reason. So I think that you could get away with draft chaff like that card being AI generated because you just need something to represent like this is the art of this card, and it would be fine.
Yeah.
I do still like having artists do the actual art, but for a lot of the draft chaff, people aren't too picky about the art. But for a lot of cards that people care about, yeah, art is important. 100%. Not even going to question that.
Yeah, no, no. And I think we can agree that like there are non-essential things that are still equally as important to us. I think it's a little overdramatic to say that, oh God, I really need that latest Spider-Man comic book just as much as I need air.
Okay, Patrick. Could I do a very funny thing that could end the run immediately?
Sure.
Okay. So I have a thing called Hellfire Tincture right now, which does a special burning effect on things. This is called the Propane Tank. If I get it, it changes fire damage to a very specific element type, including my Hellfire Tincture. So this could immediately kill me by like octupling my damage that's dealing to me. So let's go for this. Okay,
Well,
I'm surviving it. I seem to be fine. Nice. Okay.
well, there's really no big mobs on screen. Are you just murking them from a distance?
So I have a razor wire, which is my first item, and whenever I take damage, it does a little bit of damage to enemies around me. And I have
Oh,
Hellfire Tincture, which is just constantly ticking me for damage.
oh my God.
So, yeah,
so,
funny,
so
funny dumb build.
So that happens. So
Yeah.
Mateus, you know what's interesting? I don't know if anyone's outwardly spoken to me about this, but Mateus says, I remember my grandma being unhappy because people would not write the cards to her by hand. Instead, they would type them. She thought that was some humanity. She thought that some humanity was lost in that. Nowadays, that is the normal for most people. So we're in the middle of handwriting thank you letters for people that attended our wedding. I can't say that I do a lot of handwritten letters anymore. I used to send handwritten letters for every birthday. Now I just make a call or a text. And it is becoming more of the norm. I don't think any of my family is personally upset by that, but I do think that's a generational thing. Although my parents are a little bit older, like they're both in their 60s now, if not a little bit older than that for my mom. But, I don't think any of them were really startled to see that trend arise. I don't know, like, how's your family with that? Do you guys do handwritten letters? Like, do you have a stationery collection that you gravitate towards frequently,
So we
Will?
do, but we don't use it for every occasion. We use it on like bigger celebrations, but whenever we have like a family gathering or just a holiday or something like that, we don't use it for
Mm,
that particularly, but we will use it when it's like, oh yeah, wedding, like do handwritten letters, but for something like a baby shower, we might forgo that.
okay. Yeah, fuck baby showers.
Yeah, screw that. The baby's not even gonna remember it.
Well, I honestly feel that way about, like, I think most parents would prefer, I don't know. My brother has 4 kids. I don't have any kids yet. But personally speaking, like, I'm not going to spoil my kids at a young age. They really won't. Like, I'm going to do fun things with them and for them, but I'm not going to do anything that they will definitely never remember. Or like go out of my way to do something extraordinary, unless everyone like gets to enjoy the experience equally, whatever that may be. But again, I don't have kids. Who knows what it'll be like when I actually have kids? But I think so far as AI is concerned, yes, teleportation belts. If we could have everything automated so far as transportation is concerned, let's just jetson everything. Put me in a tube. Send me exactly where I need to be.
Futurama that shit.
I was almost hit by a Tesla the other day, says Nibiru. I had the right of way, and it scared me a little. It didn't take actions that a person would be obligated to make. I mean, I guess that's normal. So that's probably bad. I think it should have cameras or sensors that help it judge the proximity of objects or people nearby it. So something was definitely wrong. But, like, who do you blame for that kind of malfunction? Like, does an insurer cover that? Will Tesla hear you out? Do you want to take Tesla to court? Like, you could very well be in the wrong. And who knows what that'll look like on the camera on the Tesla, right?
Yeah, it's as a guy who does HVAC, so I deal with like a systems with a lot of things that could go wrong. It is very common to see really random and crazy things happen, or for a common issue to occur that stops everything else from functioning.
Mm.
And for HVAC, that just means, oh, you're not getting heating or you're not getting cooling. For cars driving anything like that, it means someone's potentially getting hit by a car or a car is flipping over. So that is my one hesitancy of doing like AI cars or smart cars or self-driving cars, just because unless the technology is perfected to the point where a new like a accident happening is like a 1 in a million chance or whatever, like lower than a traffic accident would be right now, then I would like I just don't trust it. But to be fair, I'm also the type of guy who says if there's a 10% chance of something to go wrong, I'm not going to take that chance because I feel unlucky all the time.
That's interesting. This is why I don't gamble. And this isn't why I only rely on luck when it comes to my TCGs, because I know I'm very unlucky. Or at least I happen to be. I don't know. I happen to have a string of bad luck when it comes to any random numbers game. But let's see here. Diego says, I'd say art is not essential to sustain life, but it is part of what allows humans to find meaning in it and improve life. We need connection art, and games help us connect to one another. Yeah, for sure. I think that games and art, anything that we can share a common interest in, helps bridge gaps within any community. I think that it is healthy for us. Like, whether or not we need it is less relevant to what it does for our emotional well-being. And I think that there is a need for, because AI isn't trained to convey emotion, right? There are certain, let's just take so far as like, as we've been using wizards as an example, there are spotlight cards in Magic the Gathering that are meant to convey a story or something that's emotionally impactful. And I can't trust that an AI tool with the right prompts will convey that perfectly or relate it to us like another human being would. Do you know what I mean? And there are certain art pieces where emotion plays a larger part of the image, and a machine's never going to be able to, well, I don't know. Is that unfair to the machines, Will? Do you think that machines will inevitably be able to convey emotions just as well as humans do? And if they can,
in like
are you
in the idea where like it is pretty much able to copy different aspects of what people try to show off in art, they will like AI will eventually be able to convey specific emotions in artwork because it's pretty much just finding out which ones and zeros the artist is looking for, the person using the software is looking for.
right?
So eventually, yeah, like depending on how you want to define a machine showing off emotions, yes. Will a machine ever feel emotions? That's a whole freaking thesis statement to discuss,
Right.
but
Right. And this is all without like questioning what actually even is art, you know,
I like how
because
we're discussing that this is going to be the quick topic, and then we're
I
going into
know.
all these like
I'm
deep
sorry.
hypotheticals.
We're 40 minutes in. I'm sorry. Let's talk about Murders at Karlov Manor. I do want to cover some more of your thoughts though in the audience before we do continue. I don't know if that like pinging is the gameplay loud? Can someone let me know? Is if the gameplay is too loud, please let me know and we can mute it, or I can mute it on my end. Will, you don't need to do anything, but let me know if the gameplay is too loud, and then we can just go from there. So Diego says, I see it more as a medium of depth between people, although historically art has been both prohibitive and inclusive for different cultures. I think it's also been like, what is it? Didn't they just discover like those cave paintings? Those the earliest form of art was like a way of noting what it was, something to do with like animal migration or like the, I'm butchering this.
I
But
know
like those
exactly
early,
what you're talking
do you
about.
know what
I
I mean?
didn't
Like of
find
like
out
the
about that story in
like
depth.
the it's like a buffalo, it's like an image of some sort of four-legged animal, some quadruped, but it was
Yeah,
like essentially cattle for
it
the
was art as a
society.
means of communication because they
Right,
didn't have a written language back then. So
right,
instead of trying to communicate a complex idea, they just were like, okay, this thing, you know what this thing looks like? Yeah, this passed by here.
exactly, right. Like they recently discovered that. I say recently, it was maybe like within the last year, 2023 specifically. Let me see here. Murders at Damana. Gameplay volume feels fine to me. Good. Not loud at all. Good. That clicking is kind of loud. Okay, duly noted. The clicking
I
feels.
might be able to do something about that, but I think it's probably effect volume, so I don't know if there's actually something I can do about
That's
that.
okay. You keep doing your thing, man. But guys, I remember a meme short comic about humans creating AI, it taking over, a solar flare ending all AI, then humans praying to a sun god in the form of a cyclical loop. Oh god. And on that note, let's move on to the murders at Karlov Manor. I think we can all agree we want art that's ethically sourced. I think that's the only way we can approach this now. That we would all really prefer artists we love, illustrators we love, working on the games we enjoy. I think that if a company approached creating a card or board game that, and if that game was mechanically really fun and I enjoyed it, I would still derive joy from that game. I think it's the level of acceptability is the company or individual's willingness to go about creating the content in the right way. Does that make sense? Or
Yeah.
at least it's that way for me. So if Magic does it somehow ethically, then I guess I'm cool with it. But like, I don't know. That Wayfarer's Bauble passed. Who knows what else will
Oh,
pass?
yeah. That Wayfarer's Bauble was awful.
Yeah. At any rate, guys, Murders at Karlov Manor. Will, tell me your favorite cards, and then we'll talk about them. I've seen a few of them. A lot of the ones that seemed most notable are legendaries, but why don't we just hit me with your favorite?
Well, I do have to say my favorite one. It could be like a tie between like two or three, but my favorite one specifically for the art, because I can actually say that for this because it reminds me of another card, is the Pride of Hulklade. So this is the giant turtle elk crocodile that got spoiled today.
Yeah.
And the reason I love it is because it reminds me of Scuttlegator, which is another card. And Scuttlegator is a meme card in my play group because it looks like it has shades, or it looks like it nearly has shades because of the shading around the eyes. So
Oh.
if I ever get a copy of Pride of Hulklade and make a deck of it, which, by the way, I'm probably going to do.
It honestly looks a lot like Scuttlegator.
Yeah. It looks like Scuttlegator's, like, cool uncle or something.
Right. They're both crocodile turtles. Well, crocodile elk turtle. Well, Scuttlegator is just a crab turtle crocodile.
Yeah.
At any rate, if you guys don't know what's the Pride of Hulklade is, it's an 11 CMC spell. I can't believe Will would like this. Legendary creature, crocodile, elk, turtle. It costs X less to cast, where X is the total toughness of creatures you control.
Oh, so it's a one mana massive creature.
Maybe,
but what is it
maybe 1 mana. It's a 2/15, 2 attack, 15 defense defender. You can pay 2 and 2 blue, so it's Simic. Until end of turn, target creature you control gets +1/+0, gains whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw cards equal to its toughness, and can attack as though it didn't have defender. Oh, thank God. Okay, so, Will, talk me through, outside of the, aesthetic of this card and the lovely art from Brent Hollowell, what are your expectations for the Pride of Hulklade?
So my expectation is if you just run cards that incidentally have big butts like Ornn Frostfang, things like that are just 4 or 5 toughness.
I like how you name a card that already just draws really well.
Yeah, but the thing is drawing like 2 to 3 cards versus drawing like 8 or 6 in that case. Like it's a good chunk more. But the idea is if you have a couple dorks in play and then something with a big butt, you can usually play the Pride for 1 mana. And then you can pay 4 mana to immediately activate the effect on something that can attack. And if you do that, you're just having a good time drawing a full grip of cards. And then if you untap with the Pride in play, you're going to be winning the game, because if you can get 2 activations, you're drawing 15 cards off the Pride connecting. Or sorry, not 15, 30. 30 cards off the Pride connecting.
Do you
because
think
yes,
that this
it does stack.
Do you think that the Pride of Hulklade is CDH viable?
Yes, honestly, I do. And it's mainly because it plays a lot like Thrasios, but it draws a lot more cards.
What do you
And also, I want to point out, it is an infinite mana outlet. You can just give stuff infinite attack by stacking the effect.
Oh, I mean, it's not like they get trample, right?
They don't, but if you're drawing a large section of your deck, you're probably hitting enough creatures that they won't have blockers for you.
So you're suggesting Hulklade is an infinite outlet for the fire breathing? Outside, well, look, here's the
Honestly,
issue too.
yeah.
But you draw equal to its toughness. So thank God you're not going to deck yourself if you do this, right? Because it's equal to its toughness. So you're good there. So it's
the issue is you're stacking infinite activations. So if you're elf with 2 billion powers attacking
never
with
mind.
1 toughness, you're drawing 2 billion
Still
cards.
never
But the thing is, if everybody dies, you don't get those triggers.
Trigger on the stack. Oh, they never resolve.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, if someone does do something dumb and like survives, then you can still live.
Yeah, exactly. Draw.
Yeah,
like,
draw. I
use
have my whole deck in my hand, and then
Correct.
I'm gonna either stifle or I'm going to Born Upon a Wind into Thoracle.
So Yeah, that's probably the best way to go about it. All right, Will. Next FNM or tomorrow. Bring Pride of the Whole Clade if you can.
I'll have to brew it, but potentially.
But here we can look at some cards from the audience too. Feel free to suggest any cards that you found interesting from oh my god, from Murders at Karlov Manor. But I just saw Dockside support with crime novelist. Nibiru says,
I
well,
forgot to include that card in my list, and I love that card.
but is it really Dockside support or is it everything support? Because
I mean, true.
well, and I get it. Did Dockside need a handout? Not really. Crime Novelist, if you haven't heard about this card yet, is 2 generic and a red. Whenever you sacrifice an artifact, put a 1/1 counter on Crime Novelist and add a red. So there's combos for this, right? There are combos for this. I'll need to delve a little bit deeper. I think I mentioned automation.
Yeah, you mentioned the one with when you put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control, you can pay 1 and make a Thopter. I cannot remember the name of that card for the life of me, but you did mention that to me, I think, on Discord.
Yeah. So I need to go through the piggy bank to see what you can do here. I do think there are some infinite lines you could do with this. Maybe not A plus B. You do need a way to sacrifice the thing. But there are combos for this guy, outside of the fact that it just helps you storm. Is this another utility that Magda wants? Like, Crime Novelist... What is Crime Novelist going into? Because it's obviously like a storm card.
So you can put it in Magda as another outlet because it will get infinite counters and it'll make you infinite red mana. So it's kind of like another Roaming Throne in Magda, but Magda already has a Roaming Throne, so you probably don't need it.
Okay. Do you tooth and nail this and Dockside out just because?
You Tooth and Nail Team or Sabretooth and Dockside.
You're not gonna. There's never an instance where you want to put both of these down at the same time
No.
if you could.
No.
Okay. Let's see here. On Crime Novelist and Art to bridge both topics. Who thinks that Who thinks that? Who I think is Fibblethip? Wait. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. So Diego is saying he thinks Fibblethip is under the table of Crime Novelist Art. And was that an AI generative fill? No. Was that a conscious decision by Izzy? Who did the original Fibblethip art?
I don't know.
It might be. Clues 2, food, tap. Let's see here. What other card was suggested? Treasure, egg, blood, food, tap. What? No. Oh, you're suggesting items that can be broken to trigger the Crime Novelist. Yeah, sure. Like, depending on what your deck's doing, I'm sure there's plenty of ways that are just consequently going to get you a +1/+1 counter and 1 red. But yeah, Will, I'll bring up a card. Let me find it first. I think we all kind of gushed over it on the Discord already. But if you haven't heard about Delny, Streetwise Lookout, well, let me tell you. She's 2 generic and a white, legendary creature, human, scout, 2/2 body. Creatures you control with 2 power or less can't be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater. So, think Tymna. But really think Tymna when you read this next effect. If an ability of a creature you control with power 2 or less triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. All right, Will, name me the best cards to pair with Delny.
So you got Chulane, you got Tishar, you got Tymna, and those are all only legendary creatures. You can also double up your Dockside triggers, and you can double up Ragavan triggers. You can double up tutors off of Imperial Recruiter or Recruiter of the Guard. Pretty much, there's so many different things that you can run that there's no reason to not run him.
You think Delny's that good?
The second one. But there are so many different things that you can run that there's really no reason to not run Delny.
Do you know who also triggers twice off of Delny? Ruthless...
Sorry, I had to.
What? Oh. I didn't hear you. What'd you say?
I said my mom in response to that in the Muscle Man voice.
Nice, bro.
You know who else triggers off of Delny?
Ruthless Technomancer, bro.
Oh, true.
There's just a bunch of characters. I'm thinking One Piece here. There's a bunch of creatures that just work with Delny that you wouldn't suspect. I need to look over the power values of a lot of things. Sadly, Oswald's an activated ability, but there's other things we can do to duplicate that already exist. So we're in a good spot.
You can double up your Esper Sentinel. I think that's another one that people are very happy to see.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. If Esper Sentinel appears on the battlefield for me, I'm happy, but I'm not going out of my way to get it. Like, you grab it if you have Ranger Captain of Eos, and that's pretty much it. Am I wrong? I think for most decks, you're grabbing it if you have Ranger Captain of Eos in your deck. But do you ever prioritize Esper Sentinel? No.
Yes, how dare you, Patrick?
No, you don't. No, you don't. That same list is probably on Rhystic Study, and you're going to way lean more heavily into that than you ever will the Esper Sentinel. You cast the Teamer from hand with Crime Novelist and Dockside coming from the Green Beast. Go. Just overkill. Just why not go for the overkill? Assemble the Players is also somewhat interesting. It's actually in the thumbnail of this video.
So for those of you who don't know, Assemble the Players is a 1 and a white for a enchantment that says you can look at the top card of your library at any time, and if it's a 2 or less power creature, you can play it off the top once per turn.
These are facts. I think
The funny thing is, I did all that off the top of my head because I already know that card.
My issue is it can cast too many things, Will. No, it can cast Crime Novelist. How about that? You were suggesting putting it in a Lurrus build. Does Lurrus have enough? What is the threshold of creatures for this to be... Like, obviously, knowledge is great. Like, being able to kind of scry. Being able to peek at the top of your deck. What is that? It's not Miri's Guile. No, what allows you to just look at the top card of your deck? There's a couple of effects, but, like, what is the original one?
There's a blue card that literally just says, like, you can look at the top card of your library. But I don't remember what
power creep
is.
Are you suggesting this is power creep, Will?
Well, it's 1 blue and this is 1 and a white, so technically not power creep.
But for generic, is it also an enchantment?
Yeah, I think so. I can't remember what it is, but power creep, there's something that does that.
Because this is just better. Why would you ever play that? Like, you would when would you play this? Does a white list want this more than a blue list? And what is the threshold of creatures to where this is like a viable option? Like, how many creatures do you want in your list to where this will hit? Or I guess you could, like, Worldly Tutor the thing up and then be able to cast it that way. But if you see someone with Assemble the Players Worldly Tutor, do you just destroy the Assemble the Players? Yeah. Not that you're mainlining enchantment removal anyways.
The feels better option is Assemble the Players and Sylvan Tutor, just because you're actually using your Sylvan Tutor that turn.
Oh, yeah, that is nice. That is actually nice. Hey, John, how are you? Assemble the Players is interesting. I remember Future Sight, but it could have been played to the top revealed. Future Sight is one that comes to mind as well. Yeah. But yeah, Will, what are your other favorite releases from Murders at Karlov Manor? We can burn through a few. Audience, let us know your favorite singles from the recent previews that have spoiled. I'm just going to talk through a handful more before we close this out. I was hoping that Will could have speed ran this for us, but...
Well, I'm doing the slow dumb build just so that we can have
I'm joking.
A nice, consistent gameplay footage.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
But for another one that I wanted to bring up, because this is just a funny card that everyone's kind of brought up now that it's been spoiled.
Gearbait Orangutan?
Escape Tunnel.
Oh, so yeah, this is not on Scryfall, so give him the 1/2.
So
Will.
Escape Tunnel is a land that you can tap and sacrifice to get a basic from your deck into play. You can also tap and sacrifice it to make a creature with low power you control unblockable for the rest of the turn. So it is a Evolving Wilds that could also give evasion instead of finding you a land. So it's just better Evolving Wilds.
How many decks use Evolving Wilds?
CDH, like 1. I think there's only 1 that actually wants to use Evolving Wilds. I can't even remember what that deck is, but I know there is 1.
Sorry,
for
what was
casual,
the name again?
A lot of decks.
What was it called again? Escape
Tunnel.
Okay. I just want to, like, look at the art for this card. So
All about the art today.
yeah. So power creep. Has power creep finally gone too far?
Evolving Wilds has needed a better version for a while. People like
Would you
Fabled
say?
Passage. Fabled Passage is a better Evolving Wilds, and I don't know why people haven't brought up Fabled Passage as a better Evolving Wilds.
Right. Well, they're both commons, though, I think is the thing. So they're like a clear one-to-one. Fable passages are rare. So you would
Like,
expect it to be better.
I mean, yeah,
But Escape
but
Tunnel's
still.
common, my guy. You're going to have as many of these as you're going to have Evolving Wilds.
But yeah,
Um,
so Secret Passage was just one that I wanted to bring up because it is one that everyone's been bringing up as oh look, it's better Evolving Wilds, and yeah, it's better Evolving Wilds.
so is Alquist the Azorius guy? He is. Yeah, we can talk about Alquist really quick, John.
Yeah, he's
So
the Sphinx's tutelage guy.
can you give us the cost, typing, and stats, Will?
So cost is one a white and a blue. He's a 1/3 or 2/3. Uh,
Oh,
he
wishful
ETB
thinking, sir.
investigates.
Wishful thinking. You just want to get those
Oh, is he
triggers.
2/2?
You want those triggers off Delny so bad. It's a 3
Oh,
3.
he's a 3/3.
It's a 3
Ah, I
3.
see.
Okay.
But
Better
he
than you
ETB
thought.
investigates, has vigilance, and then also has you can tap, sacrifice a clue, and pay Sphinx tutelage cost to Sphinx tutelage.
Okay. Yeah, draw X cards and gain X life. Thoughts on this card? It is technically an outlet, right? So with infinite mana, and much the same way you would do these lines in Shorikai with
Yeah,
your Hullbreak Horror or your Tidespout Tyrant, you can make infinite mana, play Alquist infinitely, make infinite investigation or clue tokens, I should say, and then draw your deck that way. I don't know. Like, I don't know if this is any better than other legendaries that are doing similar things in Azorius. Right? Like, I would just suggest you play Shorikai instead. The difference being that this is a little bit cheaper to place on the field, so maybe you can get some early game value this way.
and if you want to hold up interaction, you can get a bit more burst draw than Shorkai off of this. But the thing is, once you activate this with the one clue you get off ETB, you are not activating it again.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think going the generic more for Shorikai is just better. Right? Unless you run a bunch of flicker effects, and then I guess because you're in the colors for flicker effects. So if you really want to if you really want to investigate, then you can definitely get there. But no, thank you for the suggestion there. Diggo says, I really like the case and disguise mechanics in mechanics lore. Gearbane or orangutan also seems cool for Pauper in mind. Yeah. War Leader's Call's also a second impact tremors. Redundancy is a nice thing. Yeah, impact tremors has been an outlet for a long time for lists that rely on creature ETBs. I haven't looked at War Leader's Call. This sounds like something with Aurelia though in the art. And how
Oh,
can
I
I
think
how
I
can
know
I
War
guess
Leader's
that?
Call.
Wait, well, give it to me as soon as I find it. Wait, I'll tell you.
Yeah,
I'll tell you when. Because I think I'm just assuming that Aurelia, the war leader, would be featured in this art. Let me just look at.
I
Oh, there it
believe
is.
she
There it is.
is.
Look at me. Look at me. She is a story. It's a story spotlight card. Even this is what I'm talking about, dude. Oh, Aldo Dominguez killed it. There's also a Francis 10 art. Okay, give it to me. What is War Leader's called?
So one a red and a white, and it says creatures ETB and deal one damage to each opponent, and then I'm trying to remember the other text. I think it's your creatures have haste, but I don't know.
Ooh, it's an anthem, my guy.
It's an anthem.
Yeah, +1/+1.
Alrighty.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
That's not bad. I like it. So,
It's impact tremors, but one more mana for an anthem, which is pretty good.
I think that's pretty solid. Yeah. So Impact Tremors is exactly, it's a generic and a red for just the bottom effect. I feel like what was the best anthem we've seen to date? It was like the White Tree, right? Wasn't it from?
Yeah. Because it's a double white for +1/+1 to all of your creatures and +2/+1 in ward to all your legendary creatures.
So damn good.
And
Oh
I
my
am
god.
finally lagging.
Yeah,
Enough
wow.
stuff has spawned to allow me to start lagging.
To allow you, to give you the joy of lag.
Indeed.
You're nearing kind of the end of the game. Am I mistaken?
Oh
This
no,
is.
I've already looped. This is my second time being in this area.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. Because I remember there's like a stage where you. It's like some weird celestial looking stage. A lot of white decor.
Yeah.
Am I making that up? Pub
If
Sum says
if you want, I can go there because it's really not going to be that much trouble to do that fight now.
you
I've
get
I've
there.
overstacked.
You get there from this stage, though, right?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Again, it's been a while since I've played this game. I'd love to play it next time. We'll have to figure that out. But PubSum says Pride of the Hull Clade add Nas in the command zone. Pretty much.
Yep.
Slow Nas.
I call it a PETA. I call it PETA in the command zone instead of Nas because it's a more of a draw like X amount instead of it's 8 mana draw X amount instead of a 5 mana pay life and keep going.
What do you think that Hull Clade's average cost will be during a game?
Probably like if we're excluding commander tax, I'd say probably like 3, unless you're specifically running big butt creatures to try to reduce it. I mean, like, I don't mean like, oh, I'm gonna run an 08 wall that costs 2. I mean, like, running generically good creatures that happen to have big butts.
Dude, I had no idea that there was a Assassin's Trophy reprint. Good
Yep.
call. Yeah, that's amazing. That is very, very, very much welcome. Did you guys see Long Goodbye in Black? I don't know if I did. Will, have you seen Long Goodbye?
I don't think so. That does not ring any bells.
All right, well, prepare to have your socks knocked off. One generic and a black, uncommon, instant speed. The spell can't be countered. Will, what do you think it does? Long Goodbye.
Crap. I actually remember this card just because it can't be countered. I can't. Was it recursion or is it removal?
Removal.
It's removal. Is it just destroy target creature and then lose 2 life?
Ooh. Destroy target creature or planeswalker with a mana value 3 or less.
That's what it was. It was
This
destroy
can't
small
be
boys.
countered? That's pretty good. That's
Yeah.
actually really good. That hits a lot. That hits a whole lot. I don't know how. I don't know. Do you mainline this? I think if you're in mono black, you can mainline it.
Yeah, like it's not a bad card because it's even if you're not in mono black, I think you might mainline it. Like if you're in 2 color, you might mainline it just because it's uncounterable. It
Yeah,
hits it hits commanders, it hits some stacks pieces.
John says, I was wondering if Alquist would work as a detective commander because I have a feeling that there's not going to be one. Yeah, it could. How do you mean detective though? I mean, so far as
Rebel, I
like
think
what was that? You think?
detective tribal, I think.
Is he a detective specifically?
Yeah, he's a detective, but oh, I'm finally actually taking damage off the thing. I need to grab more knee pads. There we go. Okay, I found my cap.
He is.
I'm not
a
even gonna pick up the
detective.
rest of these items. I'm too strong already.
I don't know that there's other detectives.
There's several. We have a Private
there?
Eye as another one, and we already have I think like 3 or 4 more.
Private Eye is not a legendary though, right?
Correct.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I don't know. I
Well,
don't. So far as your question is concerned, I'm not really sure.
well, if you want to talk about legendary detectives, we have Sarah Jane Smith from the Doctor Who set,
True. I mean,
and she makes clues.
we're all waiting for Pikachu, the Ryan Reynolds variety,
Yeah, true.
to make a.
Detective Pikachu in
I
the
could see
command
that.
zone.
Could you? Do you think that we'll ever get Detective Pikachu in Magic the Gathering?
Probably, potentially, but since it's in a competing card game, I doubt it. Oh, and I apparently need to get another knee pad. I have made mistakes. I'm probably dying here.
You think so?
No, so I'm still killing him, and I'm gonna be fine during the boss fight because I have life steal. but I need to be very careful on my way back because I wanted to do something else that I now can't do because I don't have everything I need to do it.
You're sure?
Yeah. So I'm fine because I can fly and 90% of this guy's attacks are on the ground. But my issue isn't that. My issue is more so the fact that I am damaging myself more than he's damaging me.
All right, guys. Any other cards you want to discuss from Murders at Karlov Manor? I know Will. There was
Oh,
just a
I have a
handful more.
handful if we'd like to
Did you want to
run through
say
some more.
analyze the pollen? I know you liked that one.
Yeah. I think the card's good. I don't think the card's great, but I think the card's good.
Can you paraphrase this one?
Oh, analyze the pollen?
As you kill the lunar chimera.
Yeah, easily. So analyze the pollen is can't remember what the term is, but it's like collect evidence. I don't know what
Evidence.
the mechanic is called. Sadly.
Evidence. Yeah, it's collect evidence. It's
Okay.
there's no, it's
Yeah, so
not
it's
mechanically
collect
named.
evidence 8, and
Okay.
then it is one green, or sorry, you may collect evidence 8, and then it's one green. Search for basic land and put it into your hand. If you collected evidence, you may search for any creature or any land instead.
It's not bad.
Ooh, I end up dead. Dang.
Did you die?
Uh oh, never mind. I'm not dead. Oh, he died. That's what the damage, the screen turning red for a second was. Oh, fuck.
Still there? Still there?
Yeah, hold up. I need to get items back from this guy.
Okay.
Oh, I
Okay.
forgot you can't die to your own Hellfire Tincture anymore. That's why I was fine. Yeah, I died because I did stupid things. Oh well.
That's all right. Here, we were gonna. I needed to wrap this up anyway, so I can start making dinner.
Yeah, well, to run through a couple of my picks because I actually have a quick list. But analyze the pollen. I like it because one green find a basic land is still something,
fine.
but a lot of
Yeah.
the time you will have 8 mana worth of things in graveyard just by using removal, using tutors, having some of your stuff removed. You'll usually have enough in your graveyard by like turn 4 to get
Especially
there,
if
and
it's
even if you
like
don't, you'll get there at turn 5.
especially if it's something like Golgari. Like I'm trying to think of the colors that would actually have the space for analyze the pollen. But if you run things like Snuff Out, or you run like the high costed but like additional casting cost cards like Deadly Rollick, you'll
Yeah.
get there pretty easily. I feel. I'm agreeing with you. I think that you really want to play this tutor mid to late game anyways, and if you just happen to play this early game because you missed a land drop, it's not the end of the world. It's not bad.
Yeah, and I had discussions about this card on the Discord, and I'm like, the agreement was kind of you're only playing it in 2 color and maybe 3 color. You're probably not playing it in 4 color and definitely not in 5 color, and it's not great in mono green.
Okay.
But my next one was
Unless it's
Vannifar.
Savala, you're gonna have fat things in your graveyard.
Yeah, well,
Savala
yeah,
would use it.
yeah, I think Savala can do it because Savala is like a weird thing. Marwyn and Savala probably use it.
Mhm.
I don't think I use it. Maybe I might use it in Sasaya because I can just turn one Enigma for a land if I already have something. But I never,
There you
no,
go.
I never have high CMC stuff in my graveyard.
Oh,
Never mind.
cyclers count too. Like if you have fat cyclers,
Yeah,
like those,
I don't have cyclers though.
right?
But any discard effect is really good with this as well.
Mhm.
But my next card is Vannifar Evolved Enigma. The inner machinations of my command zone are an enigma. So Vannifar is just 4 mana for a commander that says at the beginning of combat, either put a +1/+1 counter on each colorless creature you control, or you can put a card from your hand face down concealed. The reason this is really good, if you conceal an Omniscience or any other permanent and flicker it, it comes back as the permanent. You can cheat in really big things, you can cheat in really dumb things. And they can't be countered, and they're warded because Conceal gives ward too. You can do some dumb things with Vannifar. I don't think Vannifar is going to be a great commander, but I think Vannifar is going to be an interesting commander for CDH.
I agree with that.
Next was a Case of the Stashed Skeleton, and this card is only notable for like 1 to 2 decks in my opinion. So it's a case spell, and it is 1 in a black, and it ETB makes you a skeleton that is a, what is it called? I can't remember the term for it. It's a
Looking up the card now. What was it called again?
Case of the Stashed Skeleton.
Right. So
But
it's
it
to solve and then
culprit,
solved.
culprit. It makes it a culprit
Well, it's a
and
suspect, but yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
suspect. Thank
Sorry.
you. So it makes it a suspect, and then the solve condition is you have to have no skeletons that are suspects, meaning kill your skeleton. And then the solved benefit is you can pay 1 and a black to sacrifice this at sorcery speed to tutor. The only reason why I think this card is relevant is because you can use it in Zur, tutor it very easily, and then you can always consistently find an ad nauseum, so you can make a weird turbo Naz Zur deck with this. Is it fantastic? No, but
Yeah.
it's another weird thing that you can do.
It's a bit
Um,
rare too. It's okay.
yeah, I also
Okay.
think it can be played in Yawgmoth just because it's sack fodder.
Yog Dog.
Yeah.
Yog Dog enjoys. I don't
And
disagree.
then my next one was going to be Analyze the Pollen, but we already went over that, so I'm going to go to the next case, and this is another case that is really good with Zur, but also really good with a lot of decks. So this is Case of the Ransacked Lab. It's 2 and a blue, and it says your instants and sorcery spells cost 1 less. The solve condition is the solve condition is play 4 or more instant or sorcery spells this turn, and then the solve reward is whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, draw a card. You will be storming off with this.
How easily do you think it's like Ristic Study with hurdles?
Yeah, so it's Ristic Study with hurdles, but it's you draw when you play instead of when your opponents play, so you can combo off with it
Right.
versus Ristic
I
being
shouldn't
value.
really consider it a Ristic Study, but
It's
it's in
inverted
the
Ristic Study.
it's in the same CMC territory, I guess is why I thought that. But yeah, I wonder how many lists actually want to run this. I mean, it's
The
cost
funny
reduction
thing
is
is,
good. Cost reduction's
there's
good.
there's another card similar to this that people play, but I think this is a better version. So the other card, I can never remember the name of it, but it's 1 red, 1 white, 1 blue, and it says when you cast a non-creature spell, draw a card. This is cost reduction, so you can play those things easier, and it's draw a card. So it's the same general draw setup. The only difference is that one's non-creature, this one's instant and sorcery. But the fact that you can kind of storm off with it a little bit more consistently and with less colors means that you can put it in more decks.
I think if you're I don't know. Obviously, if your win is relying on something like a ISO rev line, then this just being on the battlefield will be great. But how quickly will you get to 4 instants or sorceries a turn? Like that's pretty high demand, I feel. Like you're not really getting the outlet unless you're already there. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but if you have like any reasonable hand, you can just use a couple instants and then cast them on your opponent's turn, trigger
Yeah.
the solve, and then that's that.
I feel like your Gale would want it potentially. Mateus in the audience is saying
I
Mizik or
I can't run
Vadrik.
it in Gale.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, never mind. Damn.
Zur, you can do a weird build around with
If
Zur in
only
this.
Case wasn't its own type. You know what I mean? Had to be an enchantment. Sorry, man.
Yeah. But it's a good card. I don't think it's gonna break anything, but I think that people will see it around because it's cost reduction and it can do combo stuff. It is going in Orvar though. Orvar loves that.
Oh,
Because it's
Jeskai's Ascendancy was the card.
is it? I think
Mateus,
Jeskai Ascendancy is a loot and untap your stuff.
draw a card. Oh, no, yep. Wait, no, 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 no. Or Whirlwind of Thought.
I think it's Whirlwind of Thought.
You can't see this, but yeah, it's probably that. Whenever you cast on creature spell, draw a card.
It's Whirlwind of Thought. Oh, and it's 1 more mana than I thought it was. But yeah, I was thinking of Whirlwind of Thought.
Uh, any final cards for the audience to dive?
Uh, well, I had 3 more, and one was a commander card, one was a clue card, and then the third one was a card that was spoiled really early, but a lot of people aren't talking about.
Okay, okay. Actually, you
So
know what?
one is
Let
Demand
me
Answers.
let me see if I can't. Okay, demand answers. Go for it.
Yeah, so Demand Answers is 1 in a red, and it says as an additional cost, sorry, 1 in a red for an instant as an additional cost, discard a card or sacrifice an artifact, and then draw 2 cards.
It's not
This
bad.
is, yeah, it's just strictly better versions of the red loots that people are already running. I
Hmm.
like it.
An amazing Aurelia art. Another
Yeah.
story spotlight card. Look at that. I'm
And
liking
then
all of the story spotlight cards. God,
uh
that looks so good.
one of the other cards that I liked, and it's it's the return of a card my friend loves as a card that I like more, and it's Mirko, Obsessed Theorist. So Mirko's 1 blue black for a vampire detective. Hey, there's your legendary detective,
It's
Patrick.
not Pikachu. I don't
Flying,
care.
vigilance. Whenever you surveil, put a +1/+1 counter on Mirko. At the beginning of your end step, you may return target creature card with power less than Mirko's from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. Uh, just good. Just reanimate a couple things, double up on a couple of creatures. I like it. I don't think it's gonna break anything, but the fact that you can reanimate a few
Mm,
things here and there is nice.
whenever you surveil, how often are you going to surveil, Will?
Oh, you're not surveilling. That first part means nothing.
Okay.
But Mirko's just an interesting one, and
Poor
I
guy.
just wanted to bring up Mirko because also Mirko existed before with a Mirsko Vosk Mind Drinker, and it's a mill commander that my friend ran. So,
And that Chase Stone, shirtless Chase Stone art.
indeed.
Gotta love it.
And then my final card was Mastermind Plum, and it's a clue card. So, Mastermind Plum was an interesting one because it's kind of Black Storm, but in a different way than Krark. So Mastermind Plum just
This is
says,
from Ravnica. Ravnica Clue Edition.
yeah, but
Is it from Murders
whenever,
of... Never mind. We can
yeah,
still talk about it. Yeah.
yeah, but Mastermind Plum just says whenever Mastermind Plum attacks, you can exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard, and if it's an artifact, then you make a treasure token. Whenever you cast a spell, if mana from a treasure was spent to cast it, you draw a card and lose a life. Black has a couple different ways of making treasures. If you can get some kind of critical mass in there, you can storm off, draw through your deck pretty quickly, and do some dumb, crazy things. Will Mastermind Plum be a new CDH commander? Probably not, because I don't think that we have enough treasures yet. But if you do Ruthless Technomancer on something big, you can just crack 1 treasure per spell that you play and then have a good time.
That's kind of cool. Whenever Mastermind Plum attacks, I kind of dig Mastermind Plum. I think Mono Black is in a tough spot. Like, it needs to be doing something very decisive. I think when I think of Mono Black commanders, it's really only the one that you see, Crick. So I'm trying
You,
to think of like the viability of something like
yeah, why
this.
did I call them Krark? I meant Crick.
Yeah. Whenever you cast a spell, if mana from treasure was spent to cast a draw a card and lose life, that's really not bad. Was this Technomancer?
Yeah,
Make those treasures?
indeed, indeed.
Judith's Rakdos Storm is janky and potentially fun. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Tristani is interesting for a pillow fort strategy. Have others fight, make their creatures trade badly. Yeah, the new Tristani is kind of cool for that, actually.
So I
I've
want to
always
say,
wanted to make. Oh, go for it.
Judith? No, not Storm. Judith is board wipe tribal. I'm gonna Blazing Volley, and my Blazing Volley has Death Touch and Lifelink. Goodbye,
Yeah.
your board. Hello, 5/10 life for me.
Honestly, the Tristani build would be kind of funny. Target creature gains Death Touch, target creature gains Vigilance, target creature gains Double Strike. That would be kind of funny to dictate combat like that. It's like it's never that crucial in CDH setting, but I do think it is pretty cool. God, and the art. The art again, the art really does get me for this game. It is kind of importance for me. And I'm so glad they have actual artists working on the game still. But guys, that was more or less game and chat. We're gonna figure out all the kinks. I mean all of them. But we'll come back with a game next week. I don't know if it's gonna be Risk of Rain 2. It might be something else. You can make suggestions. But we're going to be doing Friday Night Magic tomorrow. If you guys want to participate in gameplay, I highly encourage you join the Discord. The link is in the description. You can join us for some games. We play Commander pretty much every Friday, starting around 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're around and you want to participate, please do. I am taking deck list submissions too. If you want feedback, I can provide feedback. But if you just want me to break in a list or play a list that you enjoy, it could be a jank CDH list, it could be a top tier CDH list, it doesn't matter. I just want to try things outside of my own comfort zone, and I like learning how to pilot new lists. So I'm going to do that for funsies. Will be playing his standard list,
Yep,
ideally.
yep.
But yeah, I highly encourage you guys to join us for those Friday night sessions. They're fun. They're a good time. If you just want to have a casual CDH Friday night, that's the perfect time to come in. But there should be more live stream content down the pipeline. Usually One Piece Wednesdays, Friday Night Magic, as I've mentioned. I think we're going to try to make this Thursdays, and I will try to get all the kinks worked out for next Thursday. And Sorcery on Saturday, but I need to sit down and edit the video. I just have not had time. But guys, thanks for sticking with us through this trial today. I'm glad we got something up for you.
Third time's the charm.
At any rate, gang, I need to make dinner, so I will see you Friday. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yep. See you guys around.
See you guys.